So you want to start a keto diet, but you don't really know how to go about things? No worries, we go through all the main things that you need to know to get started and what things you need to focus on to make this as pain-free as possible. But first of all, let's define what a keto diet is, because sometimes we think that a keto diet is something that it isn't. So it's a low-carb diet and it's high in fat and moderate in proteins. So it's perfectly safe and it's indicated for type 2 diabetics. If you want to read more about the research on this, you can check out this paper here. There is a link for you in the description if you want to go and read the paper. But to get you started, what you want to do is, number one, you want to have a plan. Because you can't just think, oh, I'll do it and I'll wing it. I go to the supermarket and get whatever I need whenever I need it. No, plan it first. When you plan it and you know what foods are good for you, maybe how much you should eat of each food, but what's most important is that you know what types of foods, where you can get them, and preferably the ones that you want to eat that you also already have them at hand, so that you don't start cheating here and there and think, oh, it will be fine. Secondly, I don't want you to restrict your food intake. Okay, that's really, really important when you start out. And thirdly, I want you to be prepared for the keto flu. And that sounds unpleasant, and it can be unpleasant. So let's start looking a little bit about the plan. So before you start anything, make sure that you know the foods, which foods are good for you, that they are keto, which means that they're high in fat primarily. That is the most important thing. Well, I say that, but low in carbs is actually the most important things, and high in fat. So I've spoken about this before. Maximum 30 grams of carbs per day and maximum 10 grams of carbs per meal. If you eat more than 3 meals, you cannot have 10 grams of carbs per meal, okay? So make sure that there aren't like 10 grams of carbs in a little keto snack or something, because then you're gonna have to eat pretty much fat and protein for your next meal, which is fine. You can do that if you want. It's not a problem. But most people think that that is a bit harsh and it's hard to do. I do it quite often. I don't see a problem with it. But when you get started, when you're just starting out, you're gonna panic if you have to do that. So things that are good for you are things like meat, eggs, fish, seafood, dairy if you tolerate it. You can eat above ground leafy vegetables, avocados. As a treat, if you must, you can have like some nuts, just a small handful, maybe a small handful of berries, but make sure that it's really small. So we're not being, or yes, just eat it in moderation. No, that's not what we're talking about. I'm talking about a small handful. So make sure that you know how many carbs are in those berries or those nuts that you are eating. So if you're sticking to the real foods that I mentioned, like the meat carnivorous part of the diet, and just getting a few carbs from a few leafy greens or whatever, if you want them, they're optional. And then dairy, you're getting your fat. So I would always try and pick like fattier cuts of meat if you like eating meat, like animal fat. I love things like pork cracklings, but I'm struggling with eating like a fat piece on the steak. What I do personally is that I cut it off and I render it in the frying pan, and I just eat the fat when it's kind of crispy, because I find that really palatable and that's really nice to me. So whatever you need to do to make it more palatable, just do it. I like to add garlic butter or just butter to pretty much every dish that I'm eating. When I was eating a lot of keto several years ago, I'm even more low carb now. I ate a lot of butter on my vegetables, so that's a very easy way to get more fat in. So those are just some suggestions. And we have something called the Smart Diabetics Food Pyramid, which you can see. If you want this food pyramid, you can just join our Facebook group where you can download the food pyramid from the resources in there. And you can also ask any specific questions if you have any questions with regards to the food pyramid and the foods on it. So number 2, not restricting foods. And I really do mean this. So I know that a lot of people, when they start keto, they actually do it to lose weight rather than just reversing their diabetes, because they don't really believe that it's possible, but it is possible. So never mind how much you're eating in the beginning. If this continues for 6 months and you're just gaining more weight and you're eating lots and lots of foods and all the foods are ketogenic, then we have a different issue. But in the beginning, you want to just stick to the right foods and not restrict yourself with regards to how much you're eating. If you're eating the right foods, the foods that I put on the Smart Diabetic food pyramid, you will be fine. I promise you will be fine, and your body will need it. Within a week or maybe 2 maximum, you're gonna start noticing that your appetite is going down. And while it's going down, you're gonna stop eating so much and you're not gonna be hungry, and you're gonna be fine with that. And at this point, this is where we can start practicing a little bit of intuitive eating. Like, we can listen to our bodies. Am I actually hungry now? No, I'm not hungry. You don't have to eat. Just check your blood sugar. Is it all right? If it's fine, you don't have to eat. Most of the time it's going to be fine. When you don't have all the carbs, you're not going to get blood sugar swings up and down, up and down. You're going to be really, really stable. If you're on metformin or insulin or something like that, that's a different story, but then that's the medications that are doing that, and then you will have to handle that differently, but you need to speak to your doctor about that. So yeah, just one little thing, I say don't restrict your foods. If you eat a lot of protein and you see spikes in your blood sugar that goes higher than you think that they should, cut down a bit on the protein and replace that with fats, and see if you get a much smoother curve that doesn't go so high, which I suspect it will. Okay, and lastly, prepare for the keto flu. So the keto flu is just a name someone came up with to describe the symptoms that you may experience when you start going low carb. So that can be things like headaches, brain fog, fatigue, cramping, restless legs, that sort of thing. And these are generally gone within the first week, but you can actually avoid a lot of these symptoms if you do a few things. So number 1, make sure that you're well hydrated. Don't be scared of drinking water. Number 2, this is really important. Now listen to me. I know that you might be thinking like, no, I don't want to do that because my blood pressure is high. But listen to me. You need to increase your salt intake. Yeah. When you go on a low carb diet, your insulin is going to go down and your kidneys are going to start excreting sodium at a much higher rate than you are used to. So you're going to be salt deficient. So if you don't replace these salts, you're going to feel crap. That's when you're going to start cramping, etc. So put a lot of salt on your food, and if you need to, substitute with some extra salt. I like to add some bone broth as well, so you can just make your own bone broth. You just put a few chicken frames in a slow cooker overnight with water. In the morning, you have perfectly fine bone broth. There's some minerals in there. It's not magic, but it will provide you with other minerals than just sodium. So if you drink a lot of it, the better. So if you like it, just fill your boots up. Also, you can supplement with magnesium and potassium. Pretty good, especially if you get cramping. Magnesium could be or magnesium deficiency could be the reason. So you can supplement with that. There are also sprays that you can buy and just spray on that might absorb through your skin. And up the fat. I don't know how many times I'm going to say that, but increase your fat if you feel very tired and lethargic, because the problem here might be that you're not getting enough fat, so you're not teaching your body how to use fat for fuel, and it might just be stuck and not able to, since there are no carbs, it can't use the extra carbs for energy, and it's not capable of using the fats because you haven't really pushed that button hard enough. So just up the fats and that will happen. And check your carbs. If they're too high, you might preventing it from happening at all. And if you are on if you are on blood sugar lowering medications, there we go, I can say it, you need to check your blood glucose more often than usual. Okay, so this is really important because you don't really know, if you haven't been on a low carb diet before, you don't really know how your body's going to react, especially with the medications. But please speak to your doctor first to try and dial in how much you're going to use, so you know how much medications you're using when you're eating a certain amount of carbohydrates, etc. And then just check that it actually reacts that way when you do, so that it keeps you stable. But it can be a good idea to just check a little bit more often what's going on, especially if you feel tired, etc., so you're not going too low, because you don't want to do that. If you tend to go too low, try to not just go and binge on ice cream, because then you kind of have to start over. Just try to eat something to get it up a little bit, but again, speak to your doctor, adjust your medication so that you're not taking such a high dose, because you don't need it when you are on a low carb diet. Okay, so thank you so much for watching, and if you want to learn more about how to reverse your diabetes, please subscribe to this channel. Also give the video a thumbs up and join our Facebook group. We are going to have a lot of fun in there, and you get the chance to ask any questions, and there will be more material in there as well that are not on any other social media. So that's where I connect most with the other type 2 diabetics that are in there.